and welcome to Bulls and Red, your go-to RB Leipzig podcast, broadcasting straight from the heart of Leipzig. We bring you the latest buzz from the club, the fan base, and our vibrant city. Whether you're near or far, this is your ultimate home for all things RB Leipzig. Stay tuned, stay passionate, and let's ride the Rasenballsport wave together. Well, it's debatable what kind of wave it is, but the mood is not bullish today. Still, we thought we'll present this little episode to you. And first of all, I would like to welcome the brain of the podcast, Richard. How the devil are you tonight?
Hey, Mario. I'm still very optimistic.
Oh, good to hear.
We will finish in top 4, and I'd like to explain it a little bit later.
Well, we'll all be looking forward to that. But first, before we get some silver lining, I need to tell you how I watched that game. And we need to tell you we were recording this on Sunday, so we had a night to sleep over that. Last night's event in Frankfurt. And I must say, it didn't improve. First of all, I'd like to send out a big thank you to all the supports who traveled out to Frankfurt and supported, well, the players. Can't really say that the team was working as a unit. But first, let me tell you how I watched that match yesterday and how I saw it. And this is going to be completely non-tactical. It won't be any rational view that I'm putting on this. The rational view and the tactical views come from Richard later. Of course, I was really, really frustrated after the match. But before the match, I didn't really expect too much. I was hoping that we were able to get a draw, a 2-2 draw, but I had a lot of respect for this Frankfurt team with young players and playing attacking high-press football most of the time. Sometimes they sit really deep, but they don't have to do much. But they can actually do some really counter-attacking that hurts, and we saw that yesterday. But when the match started and you looked at the lineup, our first surprise for me was that Openda was left out. And the other surprise was that they made Xavi Simons the captain. So a young player was given the burden of leading the team, but maybe that is something he really wanted to do to prove himself. And I think it's fair to say that he has a bit of a challenge with people who criticize him and who have criticized him. So he had something to prove, so I was looking forward to that. So I thought maybe that is a very smart move by Joel Löw. And similar to the Kiel game, I thought the beginning wasn't so bad because the first kind of chance was created by RB Leipzig. But after 5 minutes, my impression was Eintracht Frankfurt started to control the game and they didn't need to do much, but they were in control. RB Leipzig, though, I thought was pretty active, especially in midfield. They tried to overload that a little bit to create more chances, but the chances were very scarce. I didn't see much, and we saw what we saw so often this season. There was nothing creative really happening in the last third of the pitch, so we weren't really dangerous. We weren't really asking questions, and if you looked at the ex-goal scores at halftime, it really reflected that being, well, going towards nil, really. And that in itself was kind of frustrating already. So when Eintracht Frankfurt actually scored the first goal with that great counter-attack, and I'm sure, Richard, you will tell us all about it, who could have done what better. But the only thing I noticed at that time is the way they scored their goal, this is the way we used to play, and this is the way we used to score goals, and this is the way we used to attack, and this is the way we used to be successful, and we haven't seen this for a while, and that just frustrated the hell out of me. Now, for the rest of the first half, my impression was we had the ball lots of times, didn't really know what to do with it. It was kind of passing from one side to another. And it's because we didn't create many chances, I get really increasingly frustrated towards half time. Now, for the second half, I still had a little bit of hope, to be honest. And especially when Openda came on the pitch. And I am getting used to the fact that we're making substitutions very early, i.e. after the first half. So this is, in my view, very refreshing. We don't have to wait until the 60th or 65th minute or even longer. So I was kind of hopeful. But I think in the 49th minute, there was actually RB Leipzig pressing forward, and we had a half-decent chance, but the referee whistled that off due to offside, but it wasn't offside because the pass, the last touch of the ball was really from an Eintracht Frankfurt player. And Lo and behold, a minute later, we are down to 10 men, with that clumsy tackle from our number 5. That I like to compare him to Upamecano, but I do realize, and I realized yesterday, there's still a long way to go, because I didn't see that from Upamecano. He was sent off too, I think, especially versus Bayern Munich. But that was a clumsy tackle, resulted in a red card, which, yes, you could give. And of course, that free kick was taken beautifully. Great. Martin almost saved that one. But Angus, what was his name? Knauf, he had a great volley. And I think he doesn't do that all the time, just versus us. Great goal. 2-0. And I thought, wow, this is it. I mean, 2-0. We're not going to come back from this, not even to get a draw. And that was reflected in the way the game continued afterwards. Especially when we conceded the third one and the fourth one. And sometimes I did get the feeling, but maybe that is very subjective from my side. I did get the feeling that the team was falling apart a little bit. And maybe it's the impression that I got is that the team doesn't work as a team. They haven't been working as a team all season long. Now, look, we're at the match week 31. We should have a well-oiled machine, sort of like we had last year, towards the end of the season. And I think we even had an episode with that title, especially when we had that beautiful game versus Dortmund at home. This was a team which had gelled, which knew which way players were running. They could really outplay other teams. There was an idea behind it. They formed a unit. They acted as a unit, and we haven't got that. And so I know there are many reasons for it, but it's just so frustrating that even at this point in the season, we haven't got a team. It still feels like a newly created squad that starts the season and needs 5, 6, 7, 8 more weeks to really gel together and to be as powerful as they could be. And I'm sorry to say, but Xavi didn't lead the team. He's not a leader in that sense to be a captain, like Willi Orban, who would just show up in the opponent's box, and because he had enough, he would just try to score. We've seen that so many times. Really interesting that David Raum got his 4th yellow card of the season, and he wasn't even on the pitch, just from the sideline. Now, you could say, yes, he's very involved and emotionally involved and passionate, and you need that. On the other hand, I think it's just darn stupid as well. But we will see if he comes back next week versus Bayern Munich, and hopefully he will stay on the pitch. So, well, the rest of the match, I didn't see many things to be cheerful about, to be optimistic about. I am really concerned about the rest of the season. And I would really appreciate it, Richard, if you could give us a little bit more optimism, if you could share that. But I feel a bit devastated, to be honest. And yeah, how about you, Richard? What is your more optimistic view on this and your rational view? Come on, share it with us.
Okay, let's go. There's still players in that squad on that pitch that trying to give anything that they got in stock to be successful, and not only with the ball offensive minded, but also as a defensive unit. And you named it. You had this nice little picture now we should have been a well-oiled machine to this point in the season, but it's not. And we tried everything. So we changed the oil. So in terms of, the oil is the gaffer, we changed the oil. That did not lead to success. And when the old oil was still in the machine, we tried to reassemble some things, But it seems like parts of the machine, or especially one crucial part in that whole machine, doesn't really fit in it. So it's maybe it's too tall or too rusty or whatsoever.
Too shiny?
Yeah, maybe
too
it's
luxurious?
too shiny. Yeah, for that
too
working
expensive.
horse.
Definitely too expensive.
Oh yeah, too expensive. And we have to name this guy, and this is Xavi Simons. It's we talked about it so many times. It's remarkable what he can do with the ball when he has tempo, when he has lust of playing his style, his offensive style. And suddenly, as things do not work as he intended it, he's off. He's off with his mind, he's off with his legs, and he's just off and lets the team by the rest by themselves, and you cannot do that in any team sports, and that's why he showed impressively that he is not a captain, he is not a leader. He might be the leader of, shiny, shabby, whatsoever things, but come on. If you want to be successful in your career and you're still in the very beginning, you have to bear in mind and you have to be aware in every second that you're playing on that mirror pitch that is a team sport and it's not about you. And success will come automatically with the skills you have if you rely on your teammates as well. And he do not do this, and that's why. And it's hard for a coach, and it is reported that allegedly there are some things in his contract that he has to play whenever he's able to play. He has to play. Okay. Yeah, there are rumors. I don't know. What you should do is give him a break. Yeah. Give him a break to think about. Come on. He had a break last week.
Go to your room. Think about this.
and come back when you know what I meant.
Come back when you cleared your room.
Yeah. So last week he had a week off due to this 5th yellow card suspension, but obviously he might just sitting on that, on his seat and was thinking, oh, they're really missing me, and this is me who's needed in that unit. It's not, it's not you, it's someone else, and it's someone who is not on our squad yet. So we have to find a replacement, and I'm really, really sure, and I hope that Xabi is gonna leave us in summer. So please, come on, 3 more games and then 1 promotional match in Brazil, and then off wherever you want to play at PSG, in Italy, Premier League, Spain. I don't give a
Bayern.
Excuse me, maybe Bayern.
Yeah.
But if so, then he should be, eager to show anything, also defensively, in the upcoming match next Saturday. But that's a different story. And the other one who was not on that pitch, at least defensively, was Lukeba. In my humble opinion, he is responsible for the first goal we conceded. Sure, it was Klosterman who did not get into the duel properly, and it's Bitchy who was a little bit, stiff in his hips. But it's Lukeba who lost just, the distance to his opponent, Knauf, who was like 3 or 4 meters away when the counterattack developed, and Lukeba could have made it to reach him when he should have fulfilled his duties, but he did not. And so at the end of the day, Knauf was all on his own as he entered the penalty box, and and as soon as he entered it, and as soon the pass reached him, then there was this alibi sprint from Lukeba.
Yeah,
and I was like, come on now it's not the time to
look, guys,
to get a 100%. Yes, look, and I could not happen anything. Yeah, but you should have done more, and it was the same thing when Bitchy received his red card. It's just poor defending from Bitchabu, no doubt about that. And this red card is the clearest of one I've ever seen. But it's Knauf again, who is on the midfield, on midfield, and Lukeba has 2 meters distance to him. And Tiate plays this nice long ball, and we get caught just a little bit sleeping. But as soon as the ball is in the air, you have to recognize as a defender, as a Bundesliga defender, what's going on and what's going to happen next. And you have to go full throttle, closing the gap to your direct opponent. And Lukeba does not. And this is just how Knauf gets to the ball. Lukeba could have been there in that moment when Knauf reached the ball, but he just wasn't. And that's why I think he is very, very very much responsible for the first goal we conceded, for the red card, and so subsequently also for the second goal we conceded. Although it's just Openda who, Openda, if you're part of a wall and you think about, okay, this one can get into where, it hurts very much. that counts.
I
You
want
have
more
to take
kids,
one.
so family planning, does that go out the window? But they're doctors, baby.
You have to take one for the team here. You have to take one.
Do you know who would have taken one for the team? Willi Orban, of course.
Any hockey player in any league,
old-time hockey.
any hockey player on any league in that planet would have just thrown himself into the flying puck. But no, and this is a ball who's compared to a puck is like soft. It's like silky, And he just moving out of the way.
On the pitch, taking one for the team like that, Richard. Yeah, you can talk.
If you're giving
got kids already, that's
give me 90 grand a week, and I would.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little bit different. Those
makes sense.
Those nils, those zeros makes a difference to me. So, but on the other hand side, I spotted a lot of things that keeps me optimistic and hopeful. First of all, I'm 100% sure that Jolt Löw won't try the 3-back defense again.
Okay.
Because that just limited our options. It limited our option. It gave us a huge amount of stability for at least in the first 20 minutes, I think.
Okay.
But it just offensively, it just limited because Klostermann, who was in that center defending position, should have been the one who goes into a tempo dribbling here. Leaving Retraider and leaving Lukiba alone as a security, the defensive security. But instead of that, they had always 3 defenders in midfield, and this is just too much because it's just too easy to defend when you have to can scratch one player out of all offensive-minded actions that comes to you. So next week we will see back 4 again. So Lukiba will get a break, and we will see Raum back on the pitch. And I do hope that we will see Orban back on the pitch for just more leadership and more intensity. And then I thought Seiwald had a good game yesterday. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, Vermeeren had a good game yesterday as well. And I like their effort. I like their intensity. They did not stop running when they lost the ball. Yeah. They did not stop running when it's time to defend. They let anything on that pitch that they had to lead the team. And so was Baku, I think, and so was Nedeljkovic, and a few more names. And then when I saw Nusa came on, I was like, oh, it was so nice seeing him back on the pitch. He was a little bit unlucky, so had not really much creative actions or successful actions, but he was there. And it was just, a whole lot of body language compared to Xavi. Mm-hmm. And Tidiam Gomis, also a nice player. I think he did a well job yesterday.
He's grown on me,
And bear in mind that all of those players, so Seiwald, Vermeeren, Schlager is going to come back, Orban, hopefully Raum, definitely Nusa and definitely Gomez will be on that squad for next season. Well, that keeps me quite optimistic. Then if we could get rid of those, parts in that machine that does not fit or too shiny. So
do you mean like that Xavi, Portuguese part or that part from originally from Stuttgart? Or we still have a Spanish part somewhere floating around as well.
Yeah, they all shine as well.
They all come back.
So we have to get rid of them, and then we have to swallow that bitter pill that Cesco might leave us.
Yeah,
because
that's a shame. But we need the money, huh? We need the money. We need the money. It's the inevitable truth. It is like that. But I think he is also a team player, so he had not his best afternoon yesterday. But he was left alone. I mean, he needs support of the team. He can't do it on his own, and it's been It's been the story for the whole season, to be honest.
And he never gave up, and he never stopped playing. So that's not
a lot of respect for him.
All the gentlemen did, and not only yesterday. So. Okay, bear in mind that we'll still have, I think, a very talented team, a team that can be developed or reassemble themselves as a unit. And if we can get, a decent coach out of the coaching market that finds the necessary, in Germany we would say Stellschrauben, those tiny things that you need to change here. And it won't take a lot of additions to that roster. I am very optimistic that we will see a very successful next season. And, with Nusa back on the pitch and Raum and Orban back next week versus Bayern, and with the absence of Harry Kane, and with all those, problems that Bayern have in their defensive unit, well, still makes me optimistic. And the last point, in addition, I'm almost 100% sure that Bayern Munich won't be happy to celebrate their 480 something, German championship away. They want to celebrate with Weissbier at home in the Allianz Arena. So that's why.
Not with our energy drink. No.
That's my, my straw clutch here.
Yeah, it is. Clutching a straw. Oh, thank you very much. Gives us a little bit more of an optimism. I know, last couple of weeks, you had a look at the final games of the season and sort of made certain predictions. What was the outcome of that?
Well, at least what I predicted from the actual match week, I'm pretty good.
Okay.
Because I said in our German version that we will lose that away match at Frankfurt, but still make it to finish third in the league. And all of those predictions I made for all opponents that are directly involved in this whole European competition race that we are seeing now in the Bundesliga, had exactly the results I predicted, besides of Mönchengladbach, who lost in the final minute. So I predicted a draw at Kiel and they lost. And I said, okay, we will lose in Frankfurt, but don't worry, we will end up with 9 more points out of the final third matches, and Dortmund will win at Hoffenheim, and Freiburg will win at Wolfsburg, and so on. And all of those things happened, and that makes me still optimistic. The first week of the final 4 weeks for my prediction went very well. If that's the direction, it should be a very nice outcoming of that whole, league finale.
Would that be a Champions League spot?
Yeah, in the math I did, we'll finish third because, Frankfurt is now off
third,
6 points.
Guys. Third.
You heard it here first, but, Frankfurt is off 6 points now. But,
okay.
Next week we will see the Frankfurt Diva, so they won't make any points at Mainz.
Okay,
and
versus the Karnevalsverein.
Let me take a look. And in the week after that, they face St. Pauli at home. And what St. Pauli is capable of doing on the pitch, where to that point they will be 100% still in the league and don't need to worry about anything of relegation or a playoff spot or something like that. They are able to be a very, very, so scratchy. So like a little bit when something stretches in your back and you can get really
very uncomfortable
because
very
uncomfortable. It's just an uncomfortable, very uncomfortable opponent.
Nagging opponent. Okay, well, we're going to keep an eye on that. Thank you very much, Richard. Before we go, I would like to do a shout out to one of our listeners in Canada, I think, Justin Dalton, who is really concerned about all of us because he put a nice message on Twitter saying, this is so bleak. Hope everyone is hanging in over there. Richard, are we hanging in over here? Is it okay? Are we still alive?
We're still alive because, we ain't got no other opportunity. Quitting is not an option.
Quitting is not an option. Not playing in Europe might be an option, but we'll survive.
But it won't happen.
But if you listen to Richard, believe what he says, we'll finish third. I would love to see that. That would be brilliant. But Justin, thank you very much for reaching out. We're okay. And thank you for listening to this episode. I hope Justin's okay as well and he doesn't suffer too much. And thanks everyone to listening to this episode. This has been Bulls and Red, an RB Leipzig podcast broadcasting straight from Leipzig. Your hosts are Richard and Mario. And we hope to come back to you next week ahead of our match versus Bayern München. Stay optimistic, stay cool, and have a great start to the new week. Richard, vielen Dank. Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs.